Hello dear viewers, my name is Nino and today we're taking a closer look at the Ulefone U007 Pro. The U007 Pro is an interesting phone because it is very cheap. It costs around €65 at the moment. It has an Android 6.0 operating system on it. The CPU is an MTK 6735 quad-core CPU clocking at 1 GHz. We have 1 GB of RAM, 8 GB of internal storage which can be expanded via microSD card. We also have a Gorilla Glass display which is very unusual for such cheap phones. The display is a 5-inch display at 720p. Two cameras, one in the front, one in the back. The front camera is a 2 megapixel camera interpolated to 5 megapixel and the back camera is an 8 megapixel interpolated to 13 megapixel. Another thing that we have to consider is that this is a 2-SIM smartphone. You have 2 SIM cards inside and they work simultaneously in standby. At the same time, it is also an LTE smartphone. So you see, we have a lot of things which are very unusual in this price range. The interesting thing is that you can remove the back, but the battery is not easily removable. You would have to screw it off. So that's something that I'm just not used to seeing. Other than that, the phone itself is actually quite beautiful and ultimately just fits in a smaller hand. So if you have someone who likes smaller phones, they'd probably be very happy with this phone. What we do not have here is illuminated touch buttons. We don't have a notification LED. So quite a few things missing here as well. After I checked the speed of the phone, I found out that under Antutu it's around 24,000 points, which generally should promise us very good performance for the price. Should be able to handle pretty much everything. And while this phone did that more or less, I did notice slowdown when using it, which was just very weird altogether, but I'll get to that in a moment. The next point that I want to address is the camera of the phone, and this is where usually the cameras are horrible and I just tell you that they're terrible, but these cameras actually are pretty good, and considering the numbers that we see here, I was very surprised. I can easily say that this phone makes better pictures than some phones that cost twice as much. Now, we can't compare these pictures to some of the flagship phones, but still the camera is just really nice for this price. And we're getting to the slowdowns. I've noticed slowdowns even when I was setting up the phone initially, which should just not happen. It feels almost random to me. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does. It handles multitasking and everything fairly well. But as you can see here, when I press the buttons, the response feels a bit slow, and overall that was something that I just didn't understand. Now, another point that I want to address is that this is a two-touch touchscreen, meaning that as soon as you have a third touch, the touchscreen is just going to go crazy and not be sure what's happening. If you go with 2 touches simultaneously, everything's fine, but as soon as you press with a third finger or even a fourth or whatever, which is kind of difficult considering the size of the screen, as soon as you do that, the phone just goes haywire. That is something I don't like at all, because when I type, I actually end up pressing it with my palm or something else similar to that, and you immediately notice that something's wrong because it starts typing nonsense, and it's very annoying. When it comes to game performance, the phone actually does a really good job. Obviously, the frame rates aren't going to be very smooth and buttery like we like them, but they are still going to be sufficient to be able to play. I mean, you can see Asphalt 8 here. I am able to play it. It's not the best frame rate, but it's absolutely doable. Now, the question is, who should you buy this phone for? And honestly, considering the hardware here and the slowdowns that we experience, I'd actually rather say you shouldn't buy it at all. I'm not happy with this phone simply because of the weird slowdowns. I couldn't figure it out. Maybe it's a software issue. There haven't been any updates that I've seen, so I can't even promise you that there will be. Therefore, until this is fixed, I cannot recommend this phone. If it's somebody who won't play games and you want to upgrade them from a very old, for example, clamshell phone, this is actually a really good device, especially considering that we even have Gorilla Glass here, which is very unusual. And also if we take into account the really nice camera. So if you do want to buy it against my recommendation, just take a look at the links in the description and see how much it costs. Thanks for watching and have a great day.